In Rainbow Six Siege, there are currently over 50 operators. That is 28 on defense, 28 on attack, bringing it to a total of 56. Now in today's video, I'm going to be giving you one tip that is instantly going to help you to improve for every defender in Rainbow Six Siege, every single one of them. These are going to be the defenders from the very beginning of the game release all the way up until Year 5 Season 2 Steel Wave. This is going to work perfect for you to learn a new tip or trick about your main in Rainbow Six Siege or any other operator in the game. And it is all going to be structured alphabetically. The tricks I'll be covering are ones that aren't going to be too well known, and they are going to be helping you out in minutes. If you enjoy the video or it does help you out, consider dropping a like on the video. And without further ado, let's get on into the tips. Starting it off is going to be Alibi. Now a trick that you can use with Alibi's prismas, her ability, is to set it up as if there was actually going to be a defender behind it. Now what I mean by this is quite frankly using the bullet holes and different peeking techniques to your advantage. What you can do behind a soft wall is place your prisma down, then simply melee a soft hole into that wall, and it's going to look like there is a defender holding an angle. It's very hard for the attacker to recognise that it is actually a prisma when they can only see a tiny bit of Alibi. This is going to work in the low ranks, but if you want to take it up a notch and make it a little bit more advanced, it's going to use a bullet hole peek. These are the peaks that are going to be really small and really tiny. It's going to work against advanced players placing that prisma down. Next up for Bandit, you can counter Ace simply by Bandit tricking by placing down around about 50% to 75% of your Bandit charges down. If we take a look at the example here, I've got one Bandit charge on that right wall, and then I am also going to be placing down my next Bandit charge on that left wall, because that is going to be the wall that Ace is going to be targeting. Then another little tip: when the Thatcher comes along and decides to take out your pre-placed Bandit charge, all you simply need to do is look out for that blue light that appears on the floor, then remove your Bandit charge away from the wall. And then as soon as the Ace comes back in, get ready to place your shockwires back in. Moving on to Castle, his castle barricades are always going to take 12 hits to break. That is the number that you do need to watch out for, and remember that if a teammate was to break your castle barricade, it's always going to regen so you can place it down. Another little tip that I'll chuck in here as well is to make sure that you're not trapping your teammates in. Make sure they've got what they need done first before you place them down. Now a trick for Kavira is that when you are going to be using your silent step ability, it is going to leave no footprints behind for Jackal. If that ability has been activated, you are going to have no footprints behind you, which means Jackal can't ping you. However, if Jackal was to go ahead and start pinging you, if you have your ability activated, Jackal isn't going to be able to ping you. This is a common trick that not many players are going to know about at all, and it is going to allow you to evade Jackal, and it is only going to ping you once you have deactivated that silent step. Now if you are a Clash player, a little aggressive trick that you can pull off, aka the bikini body trick, is going to be turning around with your shield on your back. Now what I mean by this is when you are going to be facing an enemy, if you very quickly in one motion turn around so that you have your shield on your back, they're not going to be able to shoot you. And then from there on out, all you need to do is get ready to turn around at a certain point and laser them down with your SMG. Now next up, surprisingly, with an operator like Doc, what you can do with his stim ability is use it from a very long range. Even if your teammate is very far away from you, you can in fact still hit them directly on with that stim. Now the key to this is looking when your crosshairs turn blue. If your crosshairs turn blue on your screen, that means you are going to directly hit them. If they're still white, you'll miss the shot. Now there's really no excuse to not heal your teammates here, isn't that right, Doc Mains? Now if we take a look at Ekko, the Master of Intel here, he is actually going to be able to deny that plant when they are going to be planting the diffuser 18 to 20 seconds each time. His ability does take 18 to 20 seconds to regen, so that is how long you are going to have before the next plant. And if we add in the time for them to plant the diffuser and the time needed to regen, it does work out quite nicely, which is why I would recommend you to make sure that you are using Ekko's ability to stop that plant at the late time. Waste as much time as you can, which means you are going to be disorientating the enemy at the very end of their plant. Now a lovely little combination that you can use for Ella is placing down her barbed wire on the stairs, for example, and then placing your Grismot mine just a little bit higher. What you can do with this is use the barbed wire as a sound cue, wait for it to go off, which will then alert you to their position. They hit the Grismot mine, you peek the corner, and you've got a free kill waiting for you. Now for all of the Frost mains who do like to capture their enemy in a nice bear trap, what I would recommend you to do is place your welcome mats in an unorthodox position. Get creative with your placements and try to think where their enemy is going to be walking into, most likely without it being directly obvious. as if the more creative you are going to have more success with them. Or you could decide to place all 3 of them under one window. Moving on to Goyo, the Mexican defender, what I would recommend doing with your ability is using them to block off choke points. The choke points are going to be the most highly contested areas. Use them for that aerial denial, and as well you can hold them down like a regular deployable shield with that Vulcan canister attached onto it. It is a little bit more of a risky play, but it is effective. Now for all of you Jaeger mains out there, what I would recommend you to do is get a little bit more creative with your Jaeger ADS placements. This doesn't mean they have to look fancy, but if we take a look at a setup on board that I like to use, is quite simply placing one down by the lockers, moving over and placing one down here, and then heading into archives and placing one there. You notice how I've positioned them so that they are going to be behind cover, but as well they're also going to be reaching any projectiles, and especially with the one facing lockers. It isn't going to be expected by the attackers for that to be there, as you would usually think it will be on the ground or in a nearby wall. Look at this setup that I've done here, and quite frankly use that as a little bit of inspiration. Not every placement does have to be basic, as you can get a little more success with your ADSs if you follow this method. Now Kade is an operator who can get quite fancy with his ability. What he can do with his Electro Claw is it can actually lock onto 3 reinforcements, and even in some cases 2 reinforcements and a hatch. Now you can get very creative with this, so it doesn't have to be directly on that reinforced wall. You can come underneath, or you can come to the side, and quite frankly you can definitely change it up. When you are defending an armory, what you can do is come down to ventilation. In the little connector area here, you can throw your Kade Electro Claw up, and it is going to hit that armory locker's wall, which is fantastic as it isn't going to be expected. Use this as inspiration, as there are many other spots like this one. For Capcan, there is a fiery combination that you can pull off, combining Goyo, the previous operator that we did cover for this tip. If you add in a Goyo shield and then you decide to put on a Capcan trap as well at that middle height, what is going to happen is when the attacker hops over it, they're going to set off that Capcan trap, which is going to explode, detonating the Vulcan canister on the back of the Goyo shield, and that is going to cause for them to die a fiery death. With the nerf that Legion did take a little back now, he isn't going to be as effective as he was before, but don't get me wrong, he is still a very strong operator. Legion's goo mines are going to take 25 seconds each to recharge for his ability. As well, what I would recommend you doing, now that you can't see his goo mines from across the map with the little icon, instead you want to be holding down a specific area with him. This is a playstyle that you can use. It's going to be great as you'll know where your goo mines are placed, and you can act off that intel. Now a tip for placing down Maestro's Evil Eyes is that you are going to need high placement. Placing these high up is going to allow them to get a lot better view, so one simple trick that you can do is simply look up a little bit more to get a little bit more of a height advantage. As well, Maestro can deny the plant with his Evil Eyes. If you are a bit worried about the timing with this, you are going to need to hop on your Evil Eye realistically as soon as that plant is getting it down, as it is going to allow you to down them by the time the plant is just nearly about to finish. Now next up is going to be Medusa. A tip that you should be using is to place her ability in open areas for some of the placements. When the attacker exposes themselves to go ahead and take it out, what you can do is quite frankly sneak up on them and pounce like that, just so you can take them out whilst they are in that animation. Now a word of advice for Mirror and a little tip here, is that you shouldn't really be playing Mirror if you don't know the Mirror placements. If you're placing the Mirror spots to her ability in bad positions, it's actually going to be a disadvantage to your team. Make sure you do your research when playing Mirror and you know where you should be positioning them. When playing as Mozzie, it is perfectly okay for you not to go ahead and capture that drone. Instead, what you could be doing as Mozzie is denying that intel, wasting that time, and quite frankly making the attackers' lives a little bit more of a hassle, because they're not going to be able to push in due to it being there. Either they go in without the intel that drone would have given them, or they can find a new route to push in, wasting even more time. A tip to counter Mozzie on the opposite side, which I will just include in here as well, is that if your drone is going to be near a Mozzie pest and you hear that beeping noise getting louder and louder, this means that you are going to be on the direct opposite side of that Mozzie pest where it has been placed down. Now if you move slightly to the left of the doorway, for example, the beeping noise is going to get quieter and quieter, which means you can bypass it by going the opposite side and chucking in a jump there as well. Now this trick was actually found out by the legend himself, Macy J, and I swear this guy is always finding new tips and tricks in this game that nobody's heard of to this date still. Now a tip for those mute mains out there, the mute jammers can actually affect the drone from a different level. This means it can affect the drone from a vertical height. If we take a look at this spot on Oregon, if I place it here, which is quite high up, the drone is going to be affected on this top level, which is going to actually cover the full reinforcement, and as well it is also going to cover the drone hole. Moving on to the operator Oryx, what you can do is use his ability as a rotation hole maker. Now this is going to be very effective as he will only lose 5 HP. When you use his ability to go through a wall, what will actually happen is that it is going to make a perfect rotation hole for you and your team. It is only going to lose 5 HP like I did say, so 2 rotation holes is only going to take away that 10 HP. When you use Impulse's ability, if there is a Thinker boost activated for you and your team on the attacking side, Pulse can in fact detect them from a larger distance compared to where the Thinker boost was not applied. This means that it is going to be a disadvantage for the attackers, and a little bit of a trick that you can pull off with Pulse to gain a little bit more intel. Next up is Rook, and with Rook's ability it is actually going to provide a bonus to the defending team, as I'm sure you all know, but not many of you are going to know what this specific bonus is. Now what it is going to be slightly reducing the damage that an operator is going to receive, and as well when they are getting shot at the body, they are always going to be put in a down but not out state, apart from a headshot. A headshot will instantly take them out, but if they have an armor plate on, it is going to cause them to be put in that down but not out position. And that right there is why Rook puts his life on the line for these plates and his team. Now here we have a tip for the Sightmaster. The Sightmaster himself, Smoke. Now when you run Smoke's shotgun, which is what I'd highly recommend you to use, you can make bigger and more efficient rotation holes. Now the way you can do this is moving side to side or up and down. If you take a look at my ADS size, when I am not going to be moving, it is quite small. If I move side to side, you'll notice how it gradually expands. If you can do this while making a rotation hole at the same time, it's going to be a lot more efficient and quicker for you to carry out. Now for all of those Tachanka players out there, I know you're watching, I know who you are. Well, now that his deployable shield has been taken out, it is very easy for him to get killed when you aren't going to have much cover of your legs, as you've obviously got the shield at the top to cover you, but you haven't got anything at the bottom to protect your feet. Which is why his turret is going to come in prime action for spawn peeking. As toxic as it might sound, it does work. If we take a look at this spot on Villa, when you place your turret down, your feet and legs are obviously going to be covered by the little wall on the window, and you can actually spawn peek all the way onto the ruins spawn for Villa, and you can easily take them out from there. Valkyrie is a very popular operator in Siege, and is banned a hell of a lot. A tip for Valkyrie is I would recommend finding how you like to play her. Some Valkyrie mains are going to be more aggressive, they like to have that one camera outside, which is what I would recommend to run, and then have the rest of the other two going to be inside. Or you can switch it up so you're completely all about that intel instead of getting those runouts and kills. Now this is great when you are going to be helping out your roamers on your team, and there is a little border setup that I have just shown off here that you can feel free to use. Just remember, for that outside camera placement, while it does give a great view, it is very easy for them to spot and take out. You will have to keep this in mind when placing down your Valkyrie cameras. Vigil, arguably one of the best roamers in Rainbow Six Siege. Now another little tip that you can add into your game with him is that when he does have vertical height on any drone, there are many spots on the map for this. The drone isn't going to be able to see any of those white and grey bars, essentially making him invisible. There are many vertical spots on different maps that you can pull off with this to become an invisible and stealthy Vigil. Who doesn't want that? Moving on to Amai, if you don't know, he is going to be able to capture Gridlock's tracks and as well Capital Bolts. Thatcher is going to temporarily disable his ability if exposed to it, but he can capture more projectiles than Jaeger. And then last up is going to be Warden. Now Warden is all about flashbangs and smoke grenades. Now when an operator does in fact pull out their flashbang, you are able to hear that noise before they've actually thrown it. If you can listen out from this from a distance, which is doable, you can very easily listen for that noise, activate your ability beforehand and get ready. And that right there is a tip for every defender in Rainbow Six Siege. I hope you all have enjoyed and did find it useful. The little quick trick and quick tip that you can quickly implement into your game. If this video did help you out or you found it useful, be sure to drop a like on the video. And as well, if you would like to see an attacker version for this video, one tip for every attacker in Rainbow Six Siege, be sure to subscribe for the channel and let me know down below. If you have any questions at all about Siege, I do stream on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays, and I'm always there to answer them for you. I hope you all have an incredible rest of your day, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye.